Good morning, everyone. Strange how on the second day we're always slightly slower to get started. I feel like we should do one of those exercises where we all stand up and shake every part of our body to get going. But don't worry, I'm not going to do that. That's a very, very bad idea. The one piece of exercise I would demand, is that just as yesterday, we are going to get some latecomers, and while they deserve no credit for coming late, we should try and allow them to have a seat. So if you wouldn't mind sort of squeezing up a little bit from the end, so there are some seats available for those people that wander in at the last minute, that would be great. I mean, feel free to give them unpleasant looks, and even a little bit of booing and hissing would be fine for people that turn up very late, but let's at least allow them a seat if we can. So we're going to get started in just a moment when I'll be introducing our first speaker. Before then, I wanted to just run through a few of the points that came out yesterday that were particularly interesting, because every year at this event, we have a couple of themes that really resonate, and everyone talks to me in the breaks about them and says, wasn't that great? And there are a couple this year, and I guess the overarching one that's come out of so many presentations is leadership and people and the restructuring of organizations. And whereas 5-6 years ago, it tended to be about how we can persuade people steeped in print to change their ways and accept the new future. Now it's more about, do you know what? We are open media businesses, and we need to find the right talent where we can, and we need to make sure that our organizations are structured and led in a way that allows that talent to thrive, whether it comes from the sphere of data management or marketing or social media or other technology, wherever it comes from. We need it, and tomorrow's media industries are going to need those skills to thrive, and we're going to have to know how to lead those people, those sorts of people, in the modern media industry. The other little factoid from yesterday was Facebook, talking about the fact that we are going to be able to sell subscriptions within instant articles, live trials. Now that's been mentioned, we've sort of heard that, but very interesting to hear a senior exec from Facebook saying, yeah, this is a thing, we're going with this. And for years, the problem that media brand owners have had with the duopoly has been that while they like to have our content, we're not always allowed to monetize it in the way we'd like. So that trial with the Economist Group, putting a barrier after 10 instant articles and allowing the Economist to directly generate revenue from within the Facebook environment, I thought was a very interesting little piece of insight. And I guess the other session that was particularly interesting, not in here, or sessions, were the ones that dealt with things that aren't traditionally the area of what you'd call mainstream magazines. The Cannes Lion presentation yesterday out the back, talking about how we do better events. Other people talking about how we run e-commerce and sell cars in this theatre, all speak to an industry that's completely changing. And the idea of we publish words and pictures and then eventually video, and then we monetize that audience, is changing. That's not the model that a lot of successful media owners are using anymore. Remember that mix yesterday in the first presentation from Dennis? And we saw that, in fact, all the growth had come from e-commerce, and it was spectacular growth. And advertising was fairly much static, subscriptions doing very nicely, thank you, but the growth, the real growth, was in the field of e-commerce. So I can see we're just about filling up now, and that's good. So enough from me, and it's time to move on to our first session for the day. I've just spoken about magazine media business models and how they're evolving. We had some great insight on that yesterday, and our first presentation this morning picks up that theme, and we're going to get, I think, some really interesting insight into the thinking of one of Europe's major magazine brand media owners. So please welcome the Chief Executive of Gruner Jahr, Julia Jäkel.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Mike, for the introduction. I'm not sure how much you know about Gruner Jahr. Let me just give you a quick rundown what it is today. Annual revenue, 1.6 billion euro. We focus on two core markets, Germany and France. My French colleagues are here. Salut. 25% of our business is digital, growing rapidly, and as to digital, our approach is global. Our most important brands are Stern, we are a shareholder of the Spiegel, we are part of Bertelsmann, 100% now, and most important, we believe in the power of creativity and innovation. I've been CEO for 4 years now, and during that time, we've changed G&J fundamentally. And at first, this caused really uncertainty. It caused confusion. Our way, the G&J way, seemed shaky and somewhat foggy. In other words, we had a really rough start, I want to be honest. And because in the early days, we were not really good in explaining or expressing what we had in mind. And it took us some time to figure out our strategy. But gradually, things started to come together. And along the way, we've learned a lot. And what I want to do today is I want to share this with you. A couple of insights of our way in our transformation. Insight number 1. Strategy is good, attentiveness is better. Our strategy has 2 pillars, and it's really simple. Part 1 is we want to be the most exciting and innovative magazine publisher. Simply put, best in print. Easy. Or easy to summarize. Part 2, digital growth. We want to grow our digital business. We want to grow our digital business around our brands in an integrated way and via ad tech. So we don't necessarily want to be the most digital publisher. That's not what we are aiming at. You know, we own brands like Brigitte, Schöner Wohnen, Essen und Trinken, Femme Actuelle, etc., Geo, Capital. And sometimes we take it for granted how strong these brands are and how well established these brands are, and it's them which make our transformation possible. So best in print, digital growth, these 5 words define the scope of our strategy. The rest, the important rest, is really attentiveness. Did we know 3 years ago that we would create the largest content communication agency in Europe, territory, 1,000 employees, 150 million revenue? No. Another example. There were 2 interns at G&J. Actually, no, very young colleagues, very smart guys, nice young men. And they had an idea for a mobile app platform or recommendation platform for apps. And back then, we listened carefully, even though at first we could not see how this would fit in our strategy. Actually, it was off strategy, to be really honest. And today, App-like, that's what it's called, the platform, is the fastest growing ad tech company in Germany. 85% of the revenue outside of Germany, active in 16 countries, based in die Schanze. You know, that's the place in Hamburg where we had the famous G20 riots, so a fun place. And there are many, many similar stories I could tell you to make my point, and which is strategy is important, of course, but in times like ours, in times where there is change and uncertainty, it's just as important, and I'm really convinced that you need to be on the ball and ready to move. Insight number 2. This might sound counterintuitive to you, but magazines are media products for a digital society. In the digital world in particular, we all can feel an increasing desire to slow down, to focus, to concentrate, to pause, to experience sensation. And this is, by the way, happening not in spite of the digital transformation of our society, but because of the digital transformation of our society. And that's why we say we make media products for a digital world. These are digital products and print products, that is magazines. In the last 2 years, we've launched 25 new magazines just in Germany. And I'll show you just 3 of them, because I don't want to bore you with 25 magazines. And by the way, we are interested in licensing these magazines. Number 1, that's our latest release. It's called Hygge. Hygge is, you might know this, the Danish word for a quality of coziness. Finding happiness in a community, together with others, doing simple things, reading fairy tales to your loved ones, inviting your neighbors spontaneously over for spaghetti and things like this, doing things together. This is doing really, really well. Now, the first issue we just published. We also introduced Stern Crime, I think almost 2 years ago. Stern Crime. Crime is the most popular section of the Stern, the crime section. So we knew our readers were really interested in this, and then we thought, why don't we turn it into a magazine? And that's what we did. A magazine about true crime, like really true crime. And it's built on quality journalism, long reads, great authors, great quality of journalism, and a great success. And our most successful launch is actually a magazine called Barbara. It's a personality magazine. It's named after the most popular German TV entertainer, Barbara Schöneberger. And that's a woman, she somewhat outgrew TV. And she took on a new role as our editor-in-large. And this is a women's magazine, but which is extremely witty, full of humor, and very intelligent and serious. So these are just 3 examples out of 25, and those are just the ones we published in Germany. More than 30% of the titles we sell are less than 10 years old. And our average copy price is €5. So we're talking about money. My third insight. Publishers are at the forefront of digital transformation. And I really think this is a remarkable observation, at least looking at Germany. When it comes to digital journalism in Germany, it's the traditional publishers which are leading in every relevant segment. News, Spiegel, Bild, number 1, number 2. In the people segment, you can see our friends and competitors from Bunte, Burda, number 1, and Gala, that's Gruner Jahr, number 2. We at G&G are the clear leader in the food segment with Chefkoch, that's an equivalent to All Recipes. It's the 3rd largest mobile site in Germany. We are leading in the segment of home, living, and in women, and that's quite interesting. The segment geared at young women is dominated by Brigitte. Brigitte is our brand, and it's over 60 years old. And we are able to target it to younger women in Germany. So that's quite interesting, I think. In other words, no US players or content startups, I'm talking like Silicon Valley startups, etc., gets in the way of publishers in Germany. And for G&J, I can say that this reflects our financial development as well. Finally, I have to say, our publishing model is ad-based, and now we profit directly from the growing demand for brand-safe online environments. And you know what I'm talking about. And the result is that today, 1/4 of our business, of our ad revenues, is digital and is growing fast. So that's a good reason, I think, for publishers to be confident. And yet, let me tell you, there is, of course, something which keeps me up at night, which really worries me. And I think you must have talked about this yesterday. It is the irrational exuberance, I want to call it, with which advertisers spend their money on Facebook. Responding to the promise that you can measure everything. But let's not forget, the purpose of advertising is not measuring things, it's effectiveness in the end. It's not just measuring fans and likes. Advertising is about brand safety, Do you want your brand sitting, like constantly sitting beside user-generated content or quality journalism? This is what you have to decide. So it's about brand loyalty. It's about the long-term perspective for a brand. And I could go on for this now for ages, but I don't want to bore you because you know this. Here's insight number 4. Size matters, but don't be too corporate. Let's be honest, decades of success made parts of our industry a little bit complacent. And that's over now. At G&J, we understood that we needed to change. And what is important, we wanted to be a good partner. When you're thinking of G&J, I want you to think about like people, a team, a company which is competent, which is creative, reliable, and which is fun to work with as a partner. I think this is really important. And this is, by the way our Ad Alliance works. The Ad Alliance is something which is really crucial for us. Our sales unit joined forces with the Bertelsmann TV branch, or TV sales organization, IP, RTL magazines, Vox, etc. So we can sell together magazines, TV, digital, as a whole. So today, we reach 99% of the population in Germany via this new Ad Alliance, and this is going really well. But honestly, a couple of years ago, this alliance would not have been possible. TV and magazines, hello, doing things together. No, unthinkable then. And by the way, there were strong egos involved. It was just not be possible. But we came to realize that we have so much in common. We share the same spirit, and we both need to counter our new competitors, the Facebooks, the Amazons, etc., etc. And I'll give you another example for being a good partner. There's a magazine called Landlust in Germany. It embodies the countryside, the spirit of the countryside in Germany. It's the most successful magazine launch the last decade in Germany, selling over 1 million copies. And the founders, they were farmers, not G&J, unfortunately, farmers, business-minded farmers in rural Germany. And they wanted to grow their business outside the magazine, and they were looking for a partner. They came to us, and now we are doing business together, creating new magazines and new businesses, bringing the two cultures together, which is difficult, but at the same time fun and working well. So size matters, but don't be too corporate. While size and relevance matter, we also have to be hands-on. And so we are. You had a look at the 25 new magazines we launched just recently, but we do things differently today. Less PowerPoint, quicker, leaner, relying on the resources in our company, in our teams. We don't hire like 30 new colleagues to start a new magazines. We are doing it from the bottom of our company. And this is how we can afford to do new things. Most of our magazines are profitable or turn profitable in year 1. And this is actually a new experience to the way we work, probably for the industry. And at the same time, we are not afraid to pull the plug when something doesn't work out. And failing is part of the game, and I can tell you, and you can believe me, we definitely had failures. Insight number 5. That's my favorite one. Creativity needs the right atmosphere. People often ask me, what's your process of innovation? How do you organize innovation? Well, I think it's a good question, and I do have an answer as to our digital sphere. We set up the greenhouse, that's what we call it. I guess it's one of the most interesting innovation labs in the German media industry. We are testing prototypes and business models there before we invest a lot. So it's a proof of concept lab. We have tested in the last 2 years 25 projects, and about a fourth of them we implemented them successfully. It's again located in the Schanze, the G20 suburb 4 subway stations away from our headquarters in Hamburg. So yes, we do have instruments to promote innovation within our digital sphere, but there is no really structured process to innovation. And I'm really convinced that creativity cannot be the result of structures and processes. This is my deep conviction. Creativity is culture, is spirit, is people. It's about open-mindedness, quick thinking, feeling something. It's about courage, curiosity, and how you encourage people. And it has a lot to do with trust. That's really important today more than ever. Trust in our talent. Trust in the talent in our publishing house. In the last 3 years, we have promoted many, many talented managers. Some of them are sitting here and listening to this. Managers we trusted. They've been second or third in line, but they were not looking back romantically, but they were embracing the future and saying, hey, what's in for me? And there's something in for the company. Let's do it, and let's embrace the future. And this has turned out really well, and this has strengthened the team. Really, this is a new team. We've got a new spirit in our company. And speaking of team, we come to my 6th insight. Good women attract progressive men. Thank you for this. Yeah, oh, lots of progressive men here. So, you know, a publishing house depends on creativity, obviously. And creativity depends on diversity. Well, yes. So half of our editors-in-chief are women, 48% to be precise. 45% of our top management is female. And this happened more or less organically, without major initiatives or quotas, more or less like that, or I'll put it this way, by trusting in the ability of our colleagues. That helps. And okay, it might help that there is a woman at the top. Yeah, well. And by the way, this is not just good for women. It's good for men equally. It attracts or keeps the right kind of man we want to have. So let me conclude. Oh, yeah, this time out. Let me conclude with my last insight, number 7. Might sound trivial, but it's not. You need to go your own way. Why am I saying this? When we started this journey a couple of years ago, people asked us and asked me, is your strategy disruptive enough? Shouldn't you get rid of all your magazines, etc., etc.? And this was tough. It was tough to resist this cry for disruption. But we did not get rid of everything old. On the contrary, we understood and recognized how lucky we are to have such a wide portfolio of strong brands, a wide portfolio, and it's those brands which makes it possible to develop the whole company into the future and not just parts of it. These brands are our assets, and we had to understand this. And that's what I really want to stress at the end. Do I recommend that you all do what we did? Of course not. That'd be presumptuous. I think you need to find really your own way. This is our way. That's the way which suits us. That's the way we believe in, and that's the way we continue to work. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Julia.